Hello everyone, Nina here with part 2 of 7 Secrets to a Stunning Art Journal series. We created these 4 different backgrounds using different background techniques in part 1, and today we will go through something called the composition techniques, which are the different approaches you can use to arrange your visual elements within your art journal page. We will go through how to decide which approach to use and how to achieve the perfect placement for each element. So let's just begin. As you see over here, we used 4 different technique backgrounds to create these beautiful backgrounds in part 2. I'll link it in the top right corner in case you missed it. So these are the elements that we are going to use to add to each of our little art journal pages today. It can become overwhelming to decide where to add your focal elements on your art journal page and how to arrange them. To help with that, I created these little cheat cards of multiple composition techniques that we will go through them today. Stay tuned on how to download them for free in a bit so you can print them and use them as inspiration. Let's first go through each technique, how to use it and when to use it, and then I'll show you how to decide which technique to use for each of our little art journal pages that we have here today. I tried to make it very easy to use the cards. For each card, you're going to have to find the name of the composition technique and a little sketch of what it means and a little example on the right from one of my projects. So for this one, it's called rule of space. If your focal element is a moving object, it's an object that might move, an airplane or a car or a bike, leave a space. Either you can use the top or the bottom. I gave you 2 examples. So leave a space ahead of your object as if the object is going towards that path, or a space behind your object, so that means the object just moved this distance. It will change how you are going to decide to add your code. For at the top one, where the bike is having a journey ahead of it, you can have something that says, good luck on your upcoming journey, you are going to have a great path ahead of you, things like this. And for the one with the path behind, you can write something, hope you enjoyed your ride, hope you had fun with your trip, something like this. I have an example over here. This is the actual art journal page that I left its picture over there. Look, I left the space behind my airplane and I left the space ahead of my camper as if the camper is going to have a trip ahead of it, and I wrote travel. Also over here, I did leave a little space in front of my boat as if it's going into that space. Another composition technique is called rule of thirds. You have imaginary vertical lines and horizontal lines that cuts your art journal page into a third horizontally and vertically. It will look amazing whenever you place your objects where these lines intersect. So for example, I have the ground over here for the sketch, and the girl is standing where the lines meet at the bottom left, and a little kitty. Over here in my sketch, I'm gonna show you the actual one. I mean in my art journal page, I placed the lighthouse and the ground on the bottom left intersecting point, and I added the 3 dots on the top right. Over here, I also added the flower on the right top. Same idea. The next technique is called the diagonal technique. You are going to try to place all your elements from one corner to the other diagonally and try to leave the rest diagonal half of your art journal empty. Over here, I have a line of fish. It could be a line of butterflies from one corner to the other. And at the bottom, I place some little corals. I did the same thing here on this art journal page. Let me show you the actual bigger one. I added my Little Mermaid from one corner to the other, keeping the top right corner all empty and adding the fish to complete the diagonal line and some little lollipops or whatever these trees are with the ground, leaving the top right side of the art journal page empty. I did the same thing also on another journal here, that you can feel that the top left corner is all full. There is a lot more heavyweight on that corner other than the rest diagonal side of your page. The next technique is called balance your elements. If you have a bigger elements on one side of your page, either diagonally or horizontally. Always try to balance it with something smaller on the other side. As an example over here in this tag, let me bring the actual tag so you can see it bigger. On this tag, I added a big cluster of coral reefs, and to balance this big image, I did add the little fish on the other side. It gives like a dynamic that the fish is moving, and at the same time, it's balancing the bigger element or cluster with something smaller on the other side. Same thing here, sort of bigger than the house, this bigger cluster and a smaller house, this bigger chandelier or like candlestick and a smaller, this bigger crab and a smaller fish, sort of shows the same idea. For the next technique, it's called center your element. So your element is gonna be the focus and exactly in the center with equal spaces all around it, and it's in the center of your art journal page. Here is an example, and this is another example. These are another two examples. And for the next technique, we have the symmetrical technique. Here you are trying to balance, look, I left in the sketch 2 planets as if you're trying to balance this side and this side. Exactly, not balance with something smaller, no, balance with the same size. Here I did add 2 seahorses and 2 clusters at the bottom of the coral reefs. For the next technique, it's called rule of odds. Add odd number of elements on your page, like sort of in a triangle. You could be 5, they could be 3. I usually use 3, like these 3 clusters over here. I use these, the fish and the coral reef and the shell, 3 hearts over here. I use it a lot, even when using my enamel dots in threes over here in a line, and 3 over here in a line. And also remember in this little sketch or little art journal, I did add the dots in 3. All right, on to the next technique. We have the horizontal line or horizontal bottom, I would call it. This is very helpful when you have something like the trees next to each other. It's a picture of the forest, or or journal of a forest or trees, of the boat with the sea under, with the buildings next to each other, with the car over a grass area. You will always find that there is more weight on the bottom of your journal than the top. These are the techniques. I have these 8 cards of 8 different composition techniques that I did put in one PDF file that you can download from my website. I will leave the link down below. You will find it on my website, and I will show you where to go directly so you can download it as a PDF. You will have all the cards over here. You can print it as such or on a larger scale as I did on the cards. So let's now try these techniques to place our focal elements on these 4 art journal pages that we created. I will use the first technique here, which is the diagonal technique. I want to place my elements. I want to have this beautiful owl and this flower because pink and blue go together. I love them so much together. And a little bit of the leaves. I'm gonna place them diagonally in the top left corner. I usually place them how I want them to be and take the bottommost, which is the flower over here, and I would glue it directly to the background, and then with foam tape behind the top one, and I would add it. But I thought here that the flower is so cute, I don't want it to blend with the background, and I thought I'll just raise it a little bit because I used foam tape behind my owl. I'm just gonna use just regular paper, my thick Bristol smooth paper. I will also link it down below, along with all the materials and the tools that I'm going to use today, so if you want to check any of them. And I'm going to glue my flower almost directly to the background with a little bit of paper, and I'm going to attach my owl, a little dimension behind it with the thin foam tape, and then I'm adding couple leaves just to complete the scene and to give more of a corner diagonal sort of placement. So this is your first composition. We'll come to the next one. I want to add this teapot to my art journal page and in the center using the centering technique. And I thought instead of just making it be like just setting on a bench or a table, I thought I'll make it hang, and I did tilt it a little bit as if it's hanging, and then I added a little thread of something where it's hanging from. And this is the center technique. And over here for the butterfly, I took some time to decide which one. I could add it over here with this balancing element, a big butterfly and a smaller butterfly on the other side. Of course, with this butterfly, you cannot actually place it horizontally. It shouldn't be at the bottom. You want it to be something in the sky. If I want to use the rule of odds, I would use two smaller butterflies and would put them on a triangle. But I thought the best over here to make the rule of space, as if the butterfly is gonna fly through and out of the page. So I am going to add little dimension behind my butterfly with the foam tape and attaching my butterfly to my art journal page with Art by Marlene glue, sticky glue. And I'm gonna place it on the corner, leaving a space ahead of the butterfly as if it's gonna still has a journey ahead of it to fly through that area. Look how beautiful the placement is. I love it so much. This is the rule of space. For the next one, I want to show you that you can use any technique for almost any technique, but for some of them it's very difficult. For example, over here, this is going to be the center. You're going to have a big one and center it in the middle. For the rule of odds, you're going to place it over here where the intersecting lines between the third lines. And for example, diagonally, let me show you if you are going to place these buildings diagonally. You have the technique and you have a sketch of it, and you can use any, and you can keep trying all the techniques for each of your focal elements until you decide how your coat to go, how your placement to be. So over here, I am not gonna use this technique, but look how amazing it looks diagonally from one corner to the other. But I wanna go with the bottom, horizontal bottom, and I'm gonna place these in the middle, and I really want to add this palm tree in the middle as if it's coming behind these buildings. So same thing, I would place all my elements how I want them to be. I'll take my time to decide the final arrangement, how I want them to be next to each other. I want this pink house to be at the frontmost, and I'm gonna take, as usual, the bottommost layer, glue it directly to the background, and start placing dimensions and foam tape on the other. This house also goes in the bottom, so it goes directly glued to the background, and the pink house on the other side also glued directly. And then this is the one with the foam tape, and the blue one on the left, I added a little bit of Bristol smooth paper, and look at all the dimensions you get over here. I'm gonna try to bring it closer so you can see the dimension. Look how the composition looks amazing on the art journal page, the horizontal bottom, leaving the top almost empty and everything weighs on the bottom. So let's recap again what we did today. So over here, we used the rule of space, and the bottom one, we used the horizontal bottom. On the teapot, we used the center, and on the owls, we used the diagonal technique. Different techniques to show for a different art journal, depending on your arrangement, depending on the quote you want to write, your sentiment, but will look amazing at the end. If you choose any of these compositions, it is guaranteed that your art journal page will look more stunning and more interesting. So don't forget to check the link below to my blog where you can download these cards of the composition techniques. These are the ones that I use the most. There are so many more composition techniques, but these are what I used and I found really helpful on my art journal pages. Stay tuned for part 3. We will go through ways how to bind your art journal page into art journals, and we will use different techniques to give the final touches of your art journal page. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so when I upload it, you get notified. Thank you so much for watching today. I will see you all next time. Bye!